Today on Hot Thai Kitchen, we are making glass noodle salad. Sawadee, welcome back to Hot Thai Kitchen. I've relocated to Vancouver, Canada. That is where we are today. And Vancouverites are well known for being very healthy, so today we're making something very healthy and yummy. We're making glass noodle salad, or yum Woon Sen. Now here, as per usual, is your Thai lesson. Yum means salad, but not any kind of salad. It dictates a particular kind of dressing, and we'll look at that in a second. And Woon Sen means glass noodles. So yum Woon Sen is a pretty straightforward translation of glass noodle salad. So let's get started. So first we're going to talk about the noodles. We're using today, it's glass noodles, it's also called bean thread or bean vermicelli. Sometimes I've seen it called cellophane noodles, so when you're at the store, make sure you look for one of those things. It's made from mung bean flour, and it's kind of white and cloudy when it's not cooked, but when it's cooked it'll turn very clear. So I have 40 grams here, and it happens to come in a package of 40 grams, so that was easy. But if it comes in a big pack, you can use scissors to cut it. And then that's going to soak in just room temperature water for about 15-20 minutes or so, just so it's softened and release itself, and it'll make the cooking a lot faster and more evenly as well. So we'll let that sit, and then next we're going to make the dressing, the yum dressing. So as I said, yum is a whole category of dish. So this dressing, once you learn, you can use it for other kinds of salad as well. So I've got here 2 tablespoons of fish sauce, and for those of you who are interested, I use Squid brand, but you can use whatever brand you want. And to that I'm going to add 2.5 tablespoons of lime juice. The ratio here is a little bit more lime juice than fish sauce, but normally in Thailand it's equal parts lime juice and fish sauce. But the limes in North America, they're a lot bigger and a little less acidic, so I always add a tiny little bit more just to offset that. And then, so we've got sour, we've got salty. Now we're going to add sweet. 2 teaspoons of regular white sugar. And it is a fat-free dressing, and that's why it's very healthy. I'm just going to stir that until the sugar's all dissolved, and it will eventually. And that's pretty much it for our dressing. You've got sweet, sour, and salty. The usual trinity of Thai flavor profile. And so we'll let that sit, and we'll deal with that when we're ready to plate. Next we're going to look at all the other ingredients. Let's do our dried shrimp. So I've used this in papaya salad before. I've got dried shrimp that I've soaked in hot tap water just to soften it up a little bit. And I'm going to drain off the water and then pound it in my mortar here. I'll put that in. Make sure you don't get water in because it'll splash in your eyes or face, which has happened to me before. And then to that, I'm also going to add 1 Thai chili. You can add as much or as little as you want. This is really hot, so I'm only going to add 1. And pound away. So you want to get the shrimp to shred into little pieces so it incorporates easily into the noodles and the salad. Always a piece of towel on the counter so it helps absorb the shock. And you might need to send an apology note to your neighbor after this. Okay, so we're almost there. We're pretty much there, and I want you to come and take a look at what we want the end result to look like. Just grab a spoon real quick. So, let's see. So, I put the chili is technically part of the dressing, but I put it in here so there's no big chunks, which can be dangerous. So that's kind of what we want. Shred it up so it spreads easily into the salad. So we're going to drop that into our mixing bowl. Oh, and by the way, if you don't have mortar and pestle, you can do this in a coffee grinder as well, or a food processor. If you do it, it's too the amount is too small to be doing in a food processor, so a coffee grinder works really well, but you better wash it really well before you grind your coffee because there's chili in there. So that's going in there. And next is our vegetables. So I've got here cherry tomatoes. Not cherry tomatoes, grape tomatoes actually. We're gonna cut these in half. lengthwise, just like so. You can use big tomatoes or cherry tomatoes. If you use big tomatoes, make sure you take out the seeds because the seeds is very watery and it tends to dilute the dressing. And next we have an onion, half of a small onion. So if you have a big onion, you can do a quarter. And I'm going to do a thin julienne on this one, just like so. When you get there, I like to turn it over sideways. And when you cut onions, make sure you cut the bottom bit out far enough so that they're not stuck together into a sheet, so it splits up like that. So tomatoes and onion into the bowl. Okay, next is we've got red vegetable, white vegetable, now we need green vegetable. We are going to add Chinese celery. Now this is what Chinese celery looks like, and it's basically the tall and skinny version of the Western celery. The flavor is it's the same flavor except it's a little bit more strong in this Chinese version. So I'm going to cut the leaves and the stalk separately. So the stalk, we want to cut it lengthwise. And it's a good idea too, because inside is sometimes some Chinese celery stalks hollow in the middle, and sometimes dirt can get caught in there. So run your knife halfway through, and if you find any dirt, and just go and cut it on a bias. You can cut them into sticks. It's a salad, so it's not that big of a deal. So I've got that. Add that into our bowl. And then the leaves, just gonna roll it up tight and do a rough chiffonade. So like thin ribbons, but you don't have to be super thin. It's quite a sturdy green, so it will not wilt in your salad, which is why I like using this as well. So there, you can use regular celery if you want for this recipe. So that's our vegetable. Next, let's go get our protein cooking. So for protein, we're using two different types, ground pork and shrimp. So I've got half a cup of ground pork in a pan with just a tiny little bit of water to get going. And we're basically going to cook the pork without any added fat. And that's why this, again, will be a very healthy salad. And any fat in the ground pork will eventually, well, some of it anyway, will come out and make it even healthier. So you just want to cook this until it's all cooked through. This technique in Thai, it even has a special word for this technique, cooking ground meat in a little bit of water in a pan. It's called ruan. There, so we're almost there. As soon as you see that there's no more pink in the pork, you want to stop the cooking right away, because there's always some residual cooking and you do not want dry pork. So I'm going to add this to our salad, and I know it's hot going into a salad, but that's okay because all the vegetables are sturdy, and the heat will actually help wilt the onion a little bit, make it a little bit sweeter, a little less pungent. So you want to use a slotted spoon. You don't want the excess liquid going in there. Let's see. Because any excess liquid, and this applies for all ingredients going into this dish, will dilute the flavor of the dressing. Okay, so now I'm going to add a little bit more water so we can cook our shrimp. Same pan is fine. I mean, it's all getting mixed up in the bowl anyway. So I'm gonna add a little bit of water, let that come to turn it back on, let that come to a boil, and then I'm gonna blanch our shrimp quickly in it. So our water is boiling now, so I'm adding 6 shrimp. The size is 3140, and that basically means there's about 31 to 40 shrimp in a pound. So when you see a bag of shrimp, the bigger the number, the smaller they are. So you could blanch the shrimp in a big pot of water, but it just takes longer to boil, and it washes away too much water and wash away too much of the shrimp flavor. You could also saute the shrimp in some oil if you want, but this is the traditional way we do it. As I said, it's extremely healthy. There's no added oil in this recipe at all. So as long as the shrimp is cooked one way or another, you're good to go. And literally 30 seconds. As soon as the shrimp is firm and all curled up and nice and orange, you're good to go. So that, and these are small shrimp, so that's done. Do not overcook your shrimp, people. It's a horrible thing to do. And remember residual cooking. Yeah, if you press the shrimp down with your tongs and it feels firm, you're pretty much done. In Thailand, we eat shrimp raw too sometimes. Just raw shrimp with fish sauce. That's a dish in itself. Okay, so all that is done. And now we're going to cook our noodles. So we're ready to blanch the noodles. So if you can see, the noodles now limp and really easy to work with. We've got a boiling water. We're just going to drop the noodles in. And this will take 2 to 3 minutes in total. I would not walk away from it. So wait till it comes back to a boil. And after it comes back to a boil, it should only take about maybe a minute and a half. I would not walk away because it overcooks very quickly. How you can tell if it's done is, if you look at it now, it's still kind of bubbly and foggy in the middle. As soon as it turns clear, that's when you know it's done. So we're going to let this cook for a couple minutes. So the noodle's done. It's getting clear. And now we're going to strain it out. And you want to make sure that you get as much of the water out as possible. For reasons I've mentioned before, we don't want to dilute any of that dressing. There you go. Okay, now that it's pretty much dry, I'm going to go back into our bowl over here. And there's a little trick that I do here, is I put the noodles on top and I pour the dressing right on the noodles. And that way because the noodles really have zero flavor in and of itself. And by doing this, we give the noodles first dips into absorbing the flavor from the dressing. Because all the other vegetables have a flavor, except the noodles itself is very bland. So we're kind of ensuring flavorful noodles as well as everything else. Okay, just give it a quick toss. And again, this is served as a warm salad usually, but you can serve it room temp or cold if you want to, but I prefer it room temp-ish. So we're gonna let this sit for a little bit, so that, leaving the noodles at the bottom, so that all the ingredients have time to absorb the flavor, so the flavors really penetrate and mingle and create a more cohesive dish in general. So we're going to let this sit for about 10-15 minutes. It's a great dish to make in advance too. It sits really well because all the vegetables are, as I said, really sturdy and they don't wilt. So after 10 minutes, we're going to come back and dish it. But seeing as I'm doing a show, I'm just going to dish it for you right now so we don't waste any time. Never really serve this in the bowl that it's mixed in, because what happens is when you mix it, all the other stuff falls to the bottom and the noodles always end up on the top. So when you serve it, pour it into a new plate, and the noodles will end up on the bottom and all the good stuff will go on the top. So when people serve themselves, there's they can get everything that they're supposed to get in the dish. There you go. Put the shrimp on top. And a final garnish, we're going to add some lightly crushed roasted peanuts. It adds an element of nuttiness that offsets the acid of this dish really well, and the spiciness as well. And that is done. There you go. This is Yum Woon Sen, or glass noodle salad. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to visit my channel for all the other recipes that I have on there. I have tons. And if you like the show, subscribe to my channel so you never miss an episode.